Hello friends, Hal here. Today we are doing a live chat on the 25th of September 2015, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Thank you for coming by. Let's talk now about getting your guitar set up properly. Getting your guitar set up properly will help you to be a better player, and it will also improve the tone of your guitar. So this will be part of what you need to do. Investing a little bit of time and understanding on what to do to your guitar and a little bit of money will help you in the long run. When you get a new guitar, either off the shelf or it gets sent to you, I don't really like to buy guitars online because you really don't know what you're getting. You really have to be intimate with the guitar. You have to play it. My criteria is if I'm playing the guitar and it just starts playing itself and I start to get lost in the creativity of it all, then I know that this guitar could be for me. But if I'm playing it and I think, I don't know if I like the sound, then that's an indication that really in the long run I probably won't like it. Or if I'm feeling like, do I like this, do I like this feel? Do I like something about it? If I'm questioning it all, then I don't even go there. So some of the things that you can do to set up your guitar properly is to check the height of the strings. One thing that I do when I'm looking at a guitar is I sight the neck down here and see that it's pretty straight. Now, a guitar can be adjusted because it's got a truss rod, and the access to the truss rod is either right here underneath the neck, right inside the sound hole, or there could be a plate right up here that comes off, and then the access to the truss rod is there. But the truss rod goes inside the neck, right under the fretboard, and it can do this to your neck. It can take a neck that looks like this, and it can straighten it, or it can take a neck that looks like this and straighten it out. And you don't want it to be too bowed because then your action will be too high. You don't want it to have an arch like that because then you'll have notes that will buzz, especially up the neck or something. You'll be playing along like that and you'll be like, wow, what's wrong with it? And you look down your neck and you see this hump in it, and it's just not going to work. So getting the truss rod adjusted is important. Having the bridge height is important, mainly the saddle, and also the nut height up here. Those three things will really help your guitar to be set up properly. So some of the things that they can do, a technician can do, is to sand down the bridge to make it lower. They can shim it to make it higher, or manufacture a totally new bridge for you, and it's really not that expensive. And I suggest a bone nut, like cow bone or that kind of thing. A bone saddle. And so if you don't have shims in it, it will actually sound better. And also a bone nut will be really good. Now a new guitar, sometimes the slots are too high, and you can see that when you push down on the 3rd fret with your left hand like this, okay? And then you take your right hand and you push down on the 2nd fret right next to the 1st fret, in that 2nd space, right next to the 1st fret, and you see how far that particular string moves until it hits the fret. And I like it to be very, very small, like a 1/64 of an inch or something like that. Or, I don't know, I don't really know how far that is. It might even be closer than a 1/64 of an inch, but it's so close. But hear that little buzz right there? Buzz right there too. It may not happen so much when I'm playing. It does a little bit. So I need to get the action adjusted on this guitar just a little bit, make sure that it's the right height. I need to check the height of my nut right here. I have a feeling that it's a neck adjustment that I need. Oh, new strings. New strings can be night and day for you. So put new strings on your guitar. I like to use a rule of thumb if I'm playing regularly, like every 3 months. If you haven't changed strings for 6 months and you're playing, change your strings. I wouldn't go over a year with old strings, really, because that's just horrible. When I was gigging very regularly, like 2 or 3 times a week, I would change my strings every week. And sometimes I would change them like after the second gig, if I had 3 gigs in a row. Sometimes I even change them every gig, depending on how I'm feeling, or if it just sounds like the strings are losing some of their ability to sustain. Sustain is when you strum and it hangs on, and how long it hangs on is the ability of the guitar to sustain. When that starts to drop off pretty quickly, I change my strings. If I notice when I'm tuning that my note is fluctuating a lot, it goes way high and then it goes way low or something, I change my strings. Because the intonation is really affected by dirt in your fingers and just corroded strings and that kind of thing, especially if they're dirty. If you go like this on your high E string and you feel rough, if it's not super smooth, then you've got old strings, especially if it feels dirty or you pull your finger off and it's super dirty, or if you just feel grit, you know, on your strings. And if you go up here and you feel little like burrs underneath when you put your finger underneath that string, then your strings are old and they need to be changed. All right, let's see. Oh, you can also oil your tuners. Now these particular tuners are not sealed, and so I can oil them easily and get them in good repair. I like to keep my guitar that way. Also, every once in a while, like every year or so, I could need it more often, but what I do is I oil my fretboard and my bridge, right here, my wooden bridge. Because when it starts to look dry, then I put oil on it when I'm changing my strings, and it makes it look like new again, and it cleans it too. And it also cleans the fretboard when you put oil on it and then wipe it down. What kind of oil? Well, you can obviously go to the guitar store and you can get something fancy that they have, fretboard conditioner or something like that. Or you could use grapeseed oil, or you could use olive oil, which I think is a little bit heavy. You could use almond oil. You could use lemon oil. Any kind of furniture oil will help. You could use linseed oil, although linseed oil is a little bit heavy. I don't know if I really like that so much. But every once in a while you could use a heavier oil and then a lighter oil in between times. Like every couple of years use a heavier oil. You know, 3 or 4 or 5 years. Okay, let's see. Anything else? Oh, wipe down your guitar and make sure it doesn't have fingerprints all over it. Make sure the back of the neck feels smooth so you can move around a lot and easily. Right? Let's see. That's about it for getting your guitar set up properly at the moment. If you don't know what to do, now if you have any questions, I'd be glad to give you some details. But I have a good friend here in town, in my town, that knows a lot about setting the guitar up, and you know, if you have any more questions, maybe I could go over to him and film him talking about what you need to do to get your guitar set up. Well, friends, it's been fun. Thank you very much for coming by. If there are no questions today, which I don't think that there are, I don't see any, so we'll talk to you later. Thanks for coming by.